Hey, what's up, and welcome back to UP Power. It's been a minute, Mr. Keegan Cooper. We've been on hiatus, I suppose, because you and I took some time off in July, as I think we deserve. It's time to be back into the swing of things, though, as we get set for another football season. You got volleyball starting up as well, college soccer, high school soccer you'll be shooting this weekend. Man, I'm excited, but we have a lot to catch up on. And I think first and foremost, most importantly, your boys shot under 100, both of us, on Saturday, feeling good, beat the rain, new driver.
Yeah, you were hitting the ball well off the tee.
That was a new sensation for me.
Yeah,
because using the old Adams golf driver from 1992 didn't suit me very well for a couple years there, but yeah, good showing from the boys out on the course.
Out on the course, we were good on the links.
I got 45 holes to play this weekend, so need the game in a good spot.
Fair.
Need it in a good spot. Well, yeah, that happened since we've been gone. Also, the UPGA championships were fun to cover. I know down at Gladstone, you were there last weekend. Some great golf and high school golf in the spring was fun. Yeah, at the UPGA championship, Bowden Moore, I mentioned, from Marquette, was the UP champion in Division I. He was in the hunt there at Gladstone, so that was cool to see one of the youngsters getting after it. But why don't we talk baseball, Keegan? I think we're going to do our whole high school and college football preview next week.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll have to talk about the teams we've been out to see and touch on Tech and Northern. We've been out at one practice each for both of those teams. We'll be back next week as they get set for Thursday night openers at home, both of them. And we're loaded up with high school football next Thursday as well. But best team in the American League pretty much all year resides in Detroit. And the best team in the National League, the entire MLB, during the months of June and July, by a large margin, was the Milwaukee Brewers. So your impressions of starting there with the Brewers over the past month, 14-game winning streak, franchise record. They are now on the brink of 80 wins, and by the time we're done recording, they might have their 80th win in Chicago against the Cubs. They lead the Cubs by 9 games in the NL Central. They were trailing pretty much from April to late July. And they play just a beautiful brand of baseball. Old-fashioned. Don't hit the home run as much as some teams rely on power. They don't necessarily. Christian Yelich leads them with, I believe, 23, 24 homers. Not to say they can't hit the home run, but they don't rely on it. And they just win ball games with their defense, their base running, and making contact, putting the ball in play. And I love to see it. They've been fun to watch all year, and now everyone knows.
Yeah, they have been, and it's everybody producing. You know, I think it's production from 1 through 9 in the lineup.
It's a different guy every night.
The guy coming in off the bench, the pinch hitter. You know, the bullpen has been pretty good for them. And you know, when you think about dominant teams in Major League Baseball and World Series winner teams, that is a team that comes to mind because it's production 1 through 9 every night. Now there are some nights that maybe it's this guy's night or it's this guy's night, or we do get a home run or we do get a couple doubles, but every single night. And I mean, when the streak ended, they lose that game to the Reds in 10, 3-2. You saw what happened the next day when they played the Cubs.
And they smoked them.
Yeah.
And Cubs fans are booing, and it was hilarious. Just a joy to see that, just a joy. A 5-game sweep would be something, and then they'd be on another 5-game winning streak. I mean, forget they won 11 in a row earlier this year. Then they break the franchise record, win 14 in a row, and they tied it Friday night. They were down 8-1 to Cincinnati, and it was like, just wait, they're going to come through. And whether it's Andrew Vaughn, is unbelievable.
He is, yeah.
What he's done since spending time in AAA, both for the White Sox and for the Brewers, and then one injury, and he's in the starting lineup every day and hitting home runs, driving in runs, OPS over 1,100, I think. Just an insane run from him, and obviously the entire lineup. Think about who knew who Caleb Durbin was before this season, or Isaac Collins, or Blake Perkins. Those were not names you heard, and I think a lot of people want to know, is this team different? Is this year different? Because they've had a lot of regular season success the last 7-8 years under both Craig Counsell and Pat Murphy. Last year, winning manager of the year. He might become, I think he would be the second manager ever to win manager of the year in back-to-back seasons. How can you give it to anyone else in the National League?
No, that's true. That's true. And I think now the question looms. They've had success in the regular season for a couple of years. They've got to win in the postseason now.
Yeah, no, I entirely agree. I would argue that it is different. If you look at some of the numbers, the clip they're scoring runs at, their run differential. Again, they're going to win 80 games here this week, and they've never won more than 96 games in the history of the franchise. I think that will change. So yet another reason why it feels different, and beyond that, is home field in the postseason.
Which is huge.
They're going to win the division, so they won't have to mess around with the wild card series, which that was the best 2 of 3 when they lost to the Mets last year. Heartbreaking. They don't have to worry about that. Right into the divisional series. And yes, are you going to get a tough team to play? Because I think the Reds have a chance and a claim to make that they're a playoff team. They're only a game back of the last wild card spot. But if it's not the Reds, then say it's the Mets in. You got 2 teams from each division, and they're all good. Dodgers, Padres, the Cubs, even though they're sliding, they're still going to be in the playoffs. And then Mets and Phillies. Phillies, they would scare me.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because I really liked what they did at the deadline, adding some arms, and their lineup, I think, is the best in the National League. And I loved what Pat Murphy said before the Cubs series. Regardless, he was like, they're not the underdogs. I know we have a 9-game lead, but Chicago's not the underdogs in the division, because you look up and down their lineup, it's all-stars, gold glovers, all that stuff. The Brewers aren't necessarily that, but it's the power of friendship.
Yeah,
and they're wearing the shirts.
Are the Brewers the ragtag team of, like, I know
Yes.
we talked about these guys that nobody knew their name, and now everybody knows their name. They're the, what is it, the band of misfits,
A little bit, and I think, look, the people in Milwaukee, they're selling out games. The parking lots were flooded a couple weeks ago, and they were selling out the place. And yes, I think it's identifiable for people in Wisconsin, like this group we can all get behind. And they're having so much fun doing it. Yelich going 4 for 5 with 2 homers while swinging the Bob Uecker bat. They were good friends despite a 60-year age difference or whatever.
Yeah.
Him and Uecker were really, really good friends, and that was just cool. And I think there's some evidence that if Uecker has anything to do with this, that is where it's coming from. But I think they do have a real legitimate shot in the National League because of how I laid it out there. You got a 5-game series with home field in the divisional series, and then obviously best of 7 in the NLCS. We'll see what happens, but they haven't been there in a minute.
And we've seen games this regular season where they're never out of it until the 9th inning is over, because they were down 8-1 and they come back and they tie it. And they've had some big comebacks in the regular season that you flip on the game and you're like, oh, they're down 6 runs, and then you change the channel and then change it back and they've taken the lead.
Well, you always talk about pitching in the postseason, and you absolutely have to love the way Brandon Woodruff came back off the IL like nothing ever happened, like he didn't miss a year and a half, and he's 5-0, I think, with sub 3 ERA. Like he's been really good since coming back. Freddie Peralta's got 15 wins. He's pitching like an ace. So you got a 1-2 punch there. And then Mizrowski, I think maybe they should limit his innings here, because I think he's already thrown more innings than he ever has in his career, and ought to keep him fresh for the postseason. Just make sure, because he's had a couple bad outings.
Yeah.
Where you're wondering, even during the win streak, that was the funny thing. If they got a bad outing, the guys were getting bailed out. Quinn Priester too. He had a bad outing, and he gave up 7 or 8 runs. And of course they won.
Yeah, they win that game. Yeah.
I really like those 4 guys I just mentioned, plus Jose Quintana. I love their rotation. You mentioned the bullpen. Maybe the Padres could argue they have a better bullpen, but when you got McGill coming out, Uribe, I like it. You can't complain.
You can't complain, and it's hard to compete with, right? When they have so many arms that have, maybe not had all the best games this season, but they have had some really great outings. And as a pitcher, you've got to have confidence already going out on the mound, because you know that your team is going to put runs up on the board.
Sure.
So if you can, limit the opposing team to 3 or 4 runs, you got a good chance of winning the game.
Absolutely. Let's switch gears to the Detroit Tigers, and I think I reminded you yesterday, because it dawned on me, and it's pretty crazy. This is pretty much when the Tigers' run started last year, and you think about how little of the season is left. You got 6 weeks here, and that's when they made up all that ground to get into the playoffs last year. Now, 2025 is completely different. They've been running away with the division. The lead is not, I think it was up near 12, 13 games at one point. The Guardians have played a little bit better. Tigers were not playing their best there at the beginning of August, but they've since turned it on. They just won 3 of 4 at Minnesota. And this series they're playing this week against Houston could have some playoff implications, because if they are tied with the Astros and they're both division winners, the tiebreaker is head-to-head, which the Tigers would tie. They had lost 2 of 3 in Houston earlier this year. So if they win 2 of 3, then they're tied. Second tiebreaker is record in the division. The Tigers already have that locked up over the Astros, because the Astros have struggled a bit in the AL West. Tigers have stomped on everyone in the Central, as they should, because they're probably going to be the only playoff team, unless the Guardians can sneak in. But the Tigers, and I feel a little bit like with their fans, because this division race is not much of a race at all.
Yep.
That they just want to get to the postseason. I understand that. But I think they can work some things out, like with Chris Paddock. His 2 bad starts are ironically, or maybe unironically, against his former team.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's pitched pretty well since coming over from Minnesota at the deadline. That's where I would have a little bit of concern for the Tigers, is
who's behind.
Not the top end of the rotation, because we know who's there. It's Skubal, who's going to win his 2nd Cy Young in a row, more than likely. Behind that, need more outings like Jack Flaherty had last night.
Yeah, exactly.
He went 7 shut with 9 Ks, and you're like, that's the guy that we wanted back after we shipped him off to the Dodgers last year.
Yeah, and I think that's been kind of the whole thing all season. When you look, like, the Tigers have played well. They had that stretch there where they had lost, like 13 of 15 or something.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
It wasn't good.
So thankfully they had built up that lead.
They had built up that lead. But the question for me, especially in the postseason, because you got to talk about pitching, is who's behind Skubal, right? And if you can get outings from Flaherty like that, maybe he's your number 2 guy. But then, who's behind him? Maybe I'm looking at their roster right now. Maybe it's Chris Paddock,
Well, like I said, he's pitched pretty well outside of his starts against the Twins.
Yeah, so they have the pieces to be good. I think, too, it's also run production for them, because I feel like there's days where they'll get a good pitch outing, but the other team gets 1 or 2 runs, and then it's like, the Tigers only score 1, or they only score 3. And then there's other days where it's like 10-0, you know? or 7-0, and it's like the consistency of, and this is where I think the Tigers and the Brewers differ. The Brewers, I would say offensively they're probably always going to be there. There's some games that they're not, but I think their offensive, their bats are more consistent than the Tigers have been over the course of the season.
Yeah, the Brewers are less reliant on the home run swing, as I mentioned, but Tigers, Riley Green is an MVP caliber player.
Yeah.
I think I checked yesterday. He's got 2.5 wins on this season, still 6 weeks to go. He's about to hit his 30th home run. He's on 29 right now. That'll be his first career 30-homer season. He's only 24. He looks old with that beard. You forget he's only 24. So that thing is taken off. I really like where the Tigers lineup is at.
Yeah.
Cole Keith had 3 or 4 hits last night, and Trey Sweeney. That's the sign of a good team. Is like Trey Sweeney comes out of nowhere and hits a 3-run bomb last night as they obliterated the Astros.
Yeah.
So that type of stuff, and it's been a career year for Spencer Torkelson. That's the guy they drafted. Casey Mize, a couple bad outings here and there, but I think as you're trying to get this rotation ready for the postseason, I think Mize will be a big part of it. And look, by and large, he has played like the number 1 pick, like I'm talking about with Torque. This has been his season. I think Torque will hit 30 home runs as well. So you're just getting more value out of some of these guys. Wenceel Perez, obviously Javi Baez was one of the best stories of the first half.
Yeah,
so
he's played incredible.
AJ Hinch is really maximizing everything out of this roster. I think he's a top 5 manager in baseball without a doubt. That'll help him in the postseason. But yeah, certainly the challenge will be being a top 2 team in the American League, so they can get the benefit of what the Brewers are going to get, as I explained. They don't have to play in the wild card round. They can just sit at home, get ready for the DS. I know there's the rest versus rust argument that arises, and I think the first couple of years of this new playoff format, which is essentially the old NFL format, 6 teams, 2 byes, that if you play in the wild card series and won the wild card series, you're more likely to win the divisional series. But it just doesn't make sense practically when you think about, well, you had to use pitchers for 3 days, 3 games. Our pitchers were resting. Our base runners were resting. So it doesn't hold up when you actually think about it. Like, okay, that's a benefit of not having to play the wild card series, and also running the risk that you lose 2 out of 3 games, because good teams do that all the time. And that'd be my gripe with the postseason format is, okay, you win 95 games, you could potentially be the 3rd team in the American League and have to play a wild card series and potentially lose 2 out of 3 and you're gone.
You're done, yeah.
It's a lot different than losing 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 7. So yeah, home stretch of the MLB season. I know we've been pumping out highlights of those teams pretty much every night because, well, it's fun. They're two really good. It is fun. They're 2 really good teams, and I know a couple years ago you couldn't say the same thing about either of those teams, especially the Tigers. So things have changed, and well, people around here are in tune with baseball again.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. I think they were not good. They weren't when you think about the MLB podcasts and shows and ESPN, they weren't being talked about, and now that they are, it's
no, and there was still a lot of skepticism about the Tigers coming into this year. It's like, okay, they got hot for the last month of the season, and then beat Houston in the playoffs. Like, great, but you got to do it for 162 now, and they have. They've done a really good job, and yeah, they will more than likely make some noise in the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes as we look forward to that. Let's stay in the pros, though. Talk a little training camp. Things around the NFL. We're a couple weeks out from the opener. Lions, Packers. It's got Nance and Romo on that game, as they should. And as I think about that one, I remember that the Packers were 1-5 in the NFC North last year.
Yeah.
Now, this is a division since its inception in 2002 that the Packers have owned, obviously, because they're the Packers. They had Brett Favre, they had Aaron Rodgers, and then first year of Jordan Love, they didn't win the division, but they went to the playoffs and won a playoff game. And last year, obviously, they're a playoff team, but didn't win the division again. And that record in the division is just very un-Packer-like.
I think it looms over them, right? It looms over them.
And boom, week one, you got to play the team that has won the division the past 2 years.
Yeah, and a team
for the first time ever.
Yeah, and a team that isn't going to come out and roll over, right? I know people are worried about the Lions because of the new OC in DC, but I think that you have to understand. Guess who's still the head coach there? Dan Campbell.
Agree.
And so he's going to work with those guys. Yeah, maybe it looks a little bit different, but
I think Dan Campbell has a chip on his shoulder.
I think he does, because last year I really think should have been their year.
Yeah,
to at least get to
and
the
it's
Super
more
Bowl.
So that everyone was giving all the credit to these coordinators who were obviously very, very good at their jobs, because they wouldn't have won 15 games and they wouldn't have both gotten head coaching positions if they weren't really darn good coordinators. But yeah, Dan Campbell was the captain of the ship.
And he
Always
was,
has been.
yeah,
And he's an offensive guy. He was in tandem with Ben Johnson. Just because Ben Johnson, called the plays doesn't mean he deserves all the credit.
Yeah.
There's still a head coach who was a tight end in the National Football League for almost a decade. That counts for something. And that locker room had never been like it is now before Dan Campbell showed up.
Nope.
People like to throw around the word culture. There is a clear-cut culture when you walk into Detroit's locker room now since 2021 when Dan Campbell was hired, even though that first year they won only a couple of games. The culture was still there. It was coming. Yep. And yeah, you're right. You can't forget that he's there, still calling the shots. And their roster is
Stacked.
Supremely talented and young.
Yeah, and I mean you got a seasoned quarterback in Jared Goff who has guys that he can throw the ball
He just turned 30.
Your running
got
back,
married to Jared Goff's the best.
Your running back room might be, dare I say this, hot take here, one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL. Running backs wise, for a 1-2 punch.
1-2, I think it is the best.
Yeah, from Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery.
Yeah, no, it has to be, because I mean, Saquon, Derrick Henry, you could probably say Josh Jacobs would
be
maybe Bijan Robinson.
Yeah,
are better than Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah,
I would put Gibbs at like 4 or 5.
4 or 5, yeah.
And then Montgomery's not that far behind. So yeah, that tandem, absolutely. Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the smartest football players in the National Football League, and that matters. Sam Laporta. There's just too much talent on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
So if they stay healthy, which was the defense's issue last year, obviously 14 starters on IR, or 14 defensive players on IR, a lot of them starters at one point in the season. And Aiden Hutchinson was maybe on his way to Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah. Last season when he broke his leg, which was devastating. I think people maybe underestimate that because the Lions kept winning.
Yeah.
How much that did impact their defense. And you kind of had it in the back of your head as they're going through December and everything. And again, despite the fact that they were winning, man, not having Hutchinson in the playoffs is going to hurt.
It felt different.
Not having Anzalone at 100%, he was wearing that big
big
air cast, right?
Air cast.
Because his arm was still literally broken in there.
Yeah, but he was like, "There's no way I'm not playing."
That guy's a psycho in a good
yeah,
way.
Yeah, yeah. Like you talk
That's
about
the guy
being
that's the guy you want on your
a
defense.
certified dog. He's wearing an air cast out there, still hitting people. You know.
Yeah, like I'm a little bit scared of him. I've stood next to him. Like, he's not like crazy big, but you're like, there's something with this guy.
Yeah,
like,
that it's like
it's
don't
different.
make him angry. But yeah, I mean they're stacked up and down. They've got a great head coach, one of the best in the NFL. It's been proven because you think about.
But again, he's got the chip on his shoulder to prove that this year without Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, and you think about where Detroit was, where the Lions were, and where they are now.
We just talked about it with the Tigers.
It's like
their resurrection is not very that far off, and unrelated. The other thing with both the Lions, Packers, entire NFC North is they don't play the AFC South this year. They play the AFC North with, I think, 3 playoff caliber teams. Playoff caliber, actually, you can't even argue because the Bengals have Joe Burrow, the Steelers are the Steelers, and the Ravens might be the best team in the NFL. So they have 3 playoff caliber teams. You have to play all 3 of them, and you're not playing the Jaguars and the Titans. And the Texans were a little down. They won that division last year, and the Colts.
Yeah. You're playing the top half of the NFL this year.
Did you watch Quarterback on Netflix?
Yep. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And Jared, you just remember what the Lions did to those AFC South teams last year? They just whooped them.
Yeah.
And then down in Houston, Goff throws the 5 picks, and they still win. So they went 4-0 in those games. I don't think anyone's going 4-0 against the AFC North this year.
Yeah, if you do, then you're on another level.
So, point being, the Lions, I think they're a double-digit win team, playoff team. They're not winning 15 games.
No.
That's just not happening. That's unreasonable to expect. The Vikings are not winning 14 games. Not happening. Now, I can't confidently say about the Vikings, like I just said about the Lions, that they're still a double-digit win team and a playoff team because they have a rookie quarterback. His name's J.J. McCarthy, played at Michigan, 15-0 in 2023. Something else happened.
Yeah. Is it 15-0 with an asterisk in a national?
Yeah, let's talk about that. And then we'll circle back to talk a little bit more about Packers camp and what's happening there right now. By the way, with Lions camp, it's been smooth.
Yeah.
Nothing. The Dolphins came in for a joint practice. They really beat the crap out of them on the first day, and then second day was more even. That's what I've heard. There have been no real big injuries. Obviously, there's been a couple, but no like Hayden Hutchinson's, Jared Goff's, or anything like that. So everything coming out of Lions camp is pretty encouraging. Probably just ready for the season to get here. So Michigan, Jim Harbaugh getting the 10-year show cause kind of cracked me up because, well, he won the national championship and went to the NFL. You forget he's 62 or 63 years old. He's not coaching in college again. So that was just kind of funny that they threw that in there. Jim Harbaugh is not going to coach in college again. It's like, okay, he wasn't going to.
He'll probably.
Connor Stallions, 8-year show cause order. I don't know who was going to hire him. I'm curious if he does get another job in college. I mean, probably not eventually.
Yeah, I mean,
what is that guy? He's a young guy. He's in his 30s.
Here's my thing. 8 years from now, are people still going to be talking about this? Hopefully not. Hopefully it's...
Well, people are always going to remember it.
Yeah.
Because it was a storyline within that season that the sign-stealing scandal was kind of breaking as they were going through that season. And Harbaugh was suspended at the beginning of the year for a recruiting violation. And then you had the Penn State game where Sharon Moore was crying after the game. And I mean, this just fueled Michigan haters to hate Michigan even more. Remember this? And then he flew with the team to Maryland, and Maryland was actually pretty good. smallest margin of victory for Michigan all year at Maryland that season.
There you go.
That's it would have been cool if we were the one team to beat them.
Fair.
And we're Maryland.
Fair. Very fair.
Like, we suck. We were actually pretty good that year. But anyway, Sharon Moore was coaching that. So it was part of that season.
There'll be a 30 for 30 on it.
Well, they did an Untold on Netflix, on Stallions specifically. Anyway, yeah, that was the point I was trying to get to, is they did a lot without doing much.
Yeah, it's like...
Because they threw out, Jim Harbaugh's banned for 10 years. Stallions banned for 8 years. Like, Sharon Moore suspended for 1 game. It's against New Mexico. And they're fined $20 million. That is the one thing that will hurt Michigan. But guess what? They just got the number 1 running back in the country this morning.
Oh.
This morning, they got the number 1 running back in the country in 26.
Wow. So they're not going to hurt that bad.
That's what I'm saying.
Also, it's like, here's my thing. Not that I would say harsher punishments, but okay. Sharon Moore is suspended for 3 games, 2 this year, 1 in 26.
Yeah, and the 2 this year are self-imposed, so he legit just picked the games
that he didn't think he needed to be there for. And then
because he's coaching weeks 1 and 2.
Awful.
Week 2 is Oklahoma. That's a big game. Also his alma mater. Mm-hmm. So he's going to it's like...
Yeah. Jim Harbaugh is not coming back to college. He will retire as an NFL coach. So, you gave him a punishment. That doesn't mean anything.
The only thing that was a real penalty was the money.
Yeah. And
let me just go back to... They got the number 1 running back in the country this morning. They got the number 1 quarterback in the country last spring.
Yeah.
And he's going to be their starter this year. He turned 18 years old today, Bryce Underwood.
Yeah. So they're not really hurting.
So I'm saying that's going to make a dent, the $20 to $30 million that they're being fined. It will make a dent. It's not going to stop them from being Michigan, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But what else were they going to do? I think the financial penalty is what makes the most sense.
Would you ever see, hopefully there's nothing else
a postseason ban? That was never going to happen. It's the University of Michigan.
That's what I was going to bring
They know
up.
better than to rob. The networks would go crazy.
The networks would go insane.
Because imagine Michigan, let's say next year.
Yeah.
They got this running back and Bryce Underwood, and they're undefeated, but they're banned from the postseason. The networks would lose their mind. The networks is ABC and ESPN, but
so they're the best team in college football.
So that was never going to happen. I'm glad the NCAA handled this one differently than, say, Louisville basketball 10 years ago, when they used to vacate the championships, and it's like, what is it? They have to take down the banner. Like, especially a college football playoff championship, you can't take that away. I always thought that was so silly. We're vacating the championship. It's like, okay, great.
We still won it.
Everyone watched what happened.
Yeah.
By the way, I still think Michigan wins the national championship that year without the cheating. But you know what? I think maybe the worst thing, besides I mentioned the financial penalty, is the worst thing, because it will have an impact. How much of an impact remains to be seen. I think the worst thing is the reputation.
Yeah, it takes a hit. It takes a big hit.
Yeah.
And you are the University of Michigan, right?
And Michigan men, and
yeah.
Harbaugh was asked after they won, what makes a Michigan man? He said, someone who doesn't lie and someone who doesn't cheat. Ooh.
And then, and you're getting NCAA, investigating because you cheated.
Well, actually, they did it in inverse order. They cheated and then they lied.
Yeah.
And Connor Stallions threw his phone in a pond. Sharon Moore deleted all his messages with Connor Stallions. That's what I'm saying. The reputation, Sharon Moore, and now the University of Michigan football program
takes a hit.
Is not quite what it was before 2023. Because, Sharon Moore said he deleted his messages with Stallions to save storage on his phone.
No.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Connor Stallions threw his phone in a pond. Jim Harbaugh ignored all the NCAA information requests, whatever,
Yeah.
trying to find the truth here.
Yeah,
it's a bad look. And let's go back to the money briefly. It's going to be somewhere between $20-30 million they're being fined. Where that's coming from, I don't know. I cannot answer that question.
Boosters.
No, the boosters just keep giving the money to the recruits, like what I'm trying to say. Larry Ellison's wife, who's a U of M grad, who said, "Oh, you need $10 million for this Bryce Underwood kid?"
Here you go.
There you go. So it's not coming from the boosters. It's coming from some other,
Other means.
wherever they keep the money.
Yeah.
It's tough to keep track of.
I would love to know the intricate details of what level they cheated, right? Like, obviously,
It's out there.
they were going to
I think
games
I
and
think
they
the
were-
funniest detail, besides Stallions throwing his phone in a pond, is that everyone within the program referred to the sign stealing scheme as the KGB, and everyone involved.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty.
It's crazy.
I'm like, why? Right? Like, why do it?
It's college sports. It doesn't really surprise me
You
all
can
that
get
much.
film probably on every team.
Again, that's why
In
I don't
every-
think it helped them that much at the end of
yeah.
the day, win the national championship, which makes it all the more silly that they did it
Yeah.
and are being punished for it now. I got there talking about the Minnesota Vikings having a rookie quarterback. Let's circle back and touch on Packers training camp briefly. Mentioned the Lions are looking good, feeling good, heading into week 1 in Green Bay. The Packers?
Are very.
I'll be there
yeah.
Thursday for joint practice, but they're pretty injured.
Yeah.
And it starts with Jordan Love, who had surgery
Yeah.
on his thumb, non-throwing hand,
Which is good.
and he's back on the practice field. But just Jordan Love and surgery in the same sentence in August.
Doesn't sound good.
It doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me.
And I know a lot of Packers fans and a lot of Packers supporters are clinging on to that 2023 second half of the season when we saw this magnificent Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
He was not good last year. I'm going to say it. He was not
No,
at
he was
that
not.
2023 level. Now, yes, he
He's
got
pretty careless with the football was his main
Yeah.
issue.
And yes, he got injured twice, 2 different injuries. It sucks. Injuries are not good. They happen in football. Now you fast forward to 2025. We haven't even played a regular season game yet. And he's injured and had to have surgery. Doesn't matter the level of surgery. He had to have surgery. Malik Willis, your name might be getting called this season again.
And I've said it before, Matt LaFleur did an unbelievable job when Malik Willis had to be thrown in there to start a couple times last year. If I'm not mistaken, this goes back to my point about the North having to play the North and not the AFC South this season. I believe Malik Willis's 2 starts were against Jacksonville and against Indianapolis.
It's going to be different than
If you have to start Malik Willis against the Lions or the Ravens, I wouldn't be very confident that you're going to get a win. Packers fans better hope they don't see a lot of Malik Willis this year. Granted, he did a really good job when he was in there last year. You would just prefer to have your starting quarterback out there. And he is back in the practice field, so that's good. It's just not – you would prefer the alternative where he doesn't have thumb surgery. So the receiving core, Romeo Doubs hurt. Christian Watson tore his ACL in the regular season finale against Chicago. So that's going to be a while. Matthew Golden's pretty much the only one that's been healthy. So that's good. Their first-round pick has been out there and healthy. Do we have a little breaking news?
Look at their
Oh,
roster.
no. Yeah.
Look at their questionable roster.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And granted, we have a couple weeks until the season really gets going. But yeah, that's a lot of red. Jaden Reed. Christian Washington obviously is still out. I like the McCole Hardman signing, by the way. So he's a wide receiver that's been healthy. Savion Williams, second-round pick wide receiver, has not been healthy.
But you got to have somebody to throw to him.
Yeah, that too. So I'm hoping for the Packers' sake that they can just get through this and, take the last week of camp. I mean, they shouldn't really play anyone in the last preseason game, right?
No, and there's that
shouldn't.
question of,
And they haven't been impressive in the preseason either. Anthony Belton, the rookie, I mean, they had 11 penalties in the first half. I believe Belton had 5.
Yeah, and Matt LaFleur was not happy with him at all. You could see it during halftime coming off the field.
That would, nothing frustrates a coach more. So you certainly understand that. But yeah, obviously, if your guys aren't going to look sharp and you're going to be penalized a lot, you prefer it to be in the preseason. But it just has not been quite there. But then again, you have all these guys hurt who are going to, a lot of them going to be starters. So they're not playing. Yeah, I hate the preseason. You and I have been saying it because you have to take everything with a grain of salt, good or bad.
Because you're not seeing all your starters. You probably don't have
the Bears go out there and beat on the Bills, 38-0. Caleb looks great in his first drive against the Bills twos, but you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Yep.
That it's the preseason. They're not starters. I'm sick of that. I want to watch and look at the numbers and say this is real. This is what it is. I don't want to watch and look at the numbers and be saying, oh, but.
Yeah.
So that's the frustrating part about the preseason. Both things are true as well. The Bears looked really good against the Bills on Sunday, and that's the way you want it, but you prefer it in the regular season. The Packers haven't looked great overall in the preseason. Jets game especially, first half against the Colts especially, but it's the preseason.
It's the preseason.
So there's always that but that's annoying, and it goes both ways.
Yeah, and I know people are really upset because you think about it. If Jordan Love doesn't play in week 1 of the preseason, he doesn't get injured. But again, he wasn't very good last year. You got to play him in the preseason to see what he looks like.
I advocate for playing a little bit in the preseason because those are game reps.
Yeah.
I really like the joint practices. I covered the Ravens joint practice last year. I'm going to Seattle joint practice on Thursday. I think they're great for a lot of teams, especially if they don't play each other in the regular season. They're putting a lot out there that they wouldn't put in during a preseason game because it's all on tape for everyone to see. The joint practices are really good. But I'm an advocate for game reps are game reps.
Yeah.
And everyone needs a couple.
Yep.
At the very least. So I don't fault Matt LaFleur for playing Love a little bit.
No, and you got to see how he looks because, again, he was injured twice in 2024.
And he could have torn a ligament in his thumb in week 1.
He broke his arm.
And been out for probably a week or two. And, that would be worse than him doing it in week 1 of the preseason, right?
Yeah.
So almost time to wrap up here, but we should touch on high school and college football here. In the UP, like I said, we're going to do our full preview next week. You're out at tech practice the first or second day of camp, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a couple weeks. We'll be back at practice next week as they're getting up and ready for Bemidji State. Ranked team coming in. I think they were ranked last year when the Huskies went up to Bemidji and lost in a overtime heartbreaker.
Yeah.
Incredible game.
Yeah, great game, both sides,
awesome
both teams.
Game. But one Tech really would have liked to have because they would have been 8-3 in the regular season if they were victorious in that one. So big opener for the Huskies. New quarterback, veteran defense.
Some veteran receivers. some guys that
Champney is going to have a really good year.
Yeah.
Ethan Champney doesn't have his high school quarterback throwing to him anymore, but yeah, what was the sense on Dan Metlack, former quarterback, his confidence in Alex Bueno, the new starter?
He was confident in him. You know, he has put in the work in the offseason and been there. He understands the playbook. I think where he differs from Alex Freeze is he's more mobile a little bit. I think Bueno's going to be able to get out of the pocket, move around more. If he's got to tuck it and run it, I think that he can too. He's also got a good arm. So Dan Metlack was, pleased with where he is when I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and I can only think that that's gotten better as practice has continued on. But it's a big step. You're playing a ranked opponent, your season opener at home, new quarterback. They've got to come out ready to go because Bemidji State will come out ready to go.
I think you and I have talked about it. They're in a really good spot for this year to keep keep building.
I believe they're a playoff eligible team. Like, they can get there. They've got to win the games that matter. They've got to improve in the GLIAC a little bit, get some of those games back that I think they should have had. Davenport, they probably should have beat them last year.
Yeah.
Those little games.
Davenport picked ahead of them.
Yeah.
In the preseason, which that's a chip on your shoulder type of thing, getting picked fifth in the GLIAC.
Yeah, because I
felt
picked
a little
him third.
Disrespectful.
Yeah, I picked him third. And
you think about year 3 under Dan Metlack. I mean, they went 5 wins, 7 wins.
5 wins, 7 wins, and I think they can get to 9 or 10 wins.
If you're on pace, you're winning 9. You're going 9-2. You're a playoff team, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think?
I believe so.
Yeah. Talk to my D2 guy how the D2 football playoffs work. Because unfortunately, we haven't seen a team that we cover
go there.
Go there. That's correct. Could be Tech this year, maybe. That would be sweet.
That'd be awesome.
Probably not going to be Northern. They have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
That being winning a game.
Winning a game.
So I was there, and it feels different. Does that mean anything? No. They have to do it on the field, right? Yeah. But you just think about how long some of these guys have been there. And now 2 full freshman classes, and that's like 70 players that Shane Richardson himself has recruited. If you're being honest, if they're not good enough, those 70 players from the last 2 classes, then Shane's in a lot of trouble. So having them in his system, having vets who have, been through the mud, obviously. They're 0-22 the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So they've been through the mud. I think that counts for something. And the way Shane is trying to build up this team, they're going to run the option again. He explained it to me as they've had it in for 4 full semesters, meaning last fall, started in the spring, after his first year, and put it in last fall and was shaky with it.
Yeah.
The thing is, they don't really have a true answer at quarterback. We might find that out early next week with Aiden Horde. When they weren't running the option, he was more of their pocket quarterback. Wasn't great last year. None of them were great, but I would expect more of the option with Austin Riddle, Duke Chauvel, and Trevor Turkoff, our guy from Menominee.
Yeah.
Shane tells me he will see time either in the backfield or at wide receiver. So
yeah, they've been going uphill for the last 2 years, and they're going to continue to go uphill. Minnesota State Moorhead season opener. It's not hey, this is a winnable game. Minnesota State, don't quote me, they were 6-5, 6-5 last year. They beat 2 or 3 top 25 teams, so that's going to be a good team coming in. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Northern's got a lot to put weight on their shoulder, and I saw Shane Richardson in an interview. We are the underdogs, and it's tough, but that
just the way it's going to be
until you get that win.
Yeah, so they open with that one, and then they're on the road and back home for St. Thomas in week 3. So it's a big year for Shane and the Wildcats. We'll see if they can make some improvements around there. And, yeah, Tech, can they keep building this thing up? We'll have more on them next week and your full high school football preview, because we'll be done with our preseason tour and ready to talk some ball, what we've found out. I'll leave you with this. I was at Iron Mountain this morning. A lot of concerns about the Mountaineers. Don't worry. They will be okay. We'll talk about that next week. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching or listening to UP Power.